Adrian's footsteps hit the cafe floor like hard, angry beats. Every head in the room turned. The warm, quiet space froze as the CEO's son marched toward Elias and Marina with dripping hair, clenched jaw, and eyes full of rage. Elias felt Marina stiffen beside him, but she didn't pull her hand away from his. Instead, she tightened her grip, silently telling him not to move. Not to shrink. Adrian stopped right in front of their table. Rain dripped from his coat onto the floor. He didn't care. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You think I wouldn't find out?" Elias stood slowly, keeping calm even though adrenaline rushed through him. "Adrian, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" Adrian repeated, laughing coldly. "I should be asking you that. Meeting with my clients behind my back already. You've been unemployed for 3 hours and you're already stealing." Marina stood too. "We are not doing anything behind your back. Stop twisting things." Adrian looked at her with pure disbelief. "Oh, so now you're speaking for him." "I'm speaking for myself," Marina shot back. "Which is something you never allow anyone to do in that office." Adrian turned to Elias again. "You really think you can take them away from us? You think you matter that much?" Elias didn't respond with anger. He simply said, "I didn't call a single client." "Oh, please," Adrian snapped. "I saw the emails. I got the calls. They're asking for transfers, files, updates. Everyone suddenly wants your name. Do you think I'm stupid?" He stepped closer, invading Elias's space. "If you want a war, you've got one." Elias stayed still. "I didn't start anything." Marina stepped between them. "Adrian, he didn't plan any of this. Your father's clients trust Elias. He earned that trust. You can't erase it by firing him." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "And what about you? Running around, whispering to clients, taking meetings without clearing them through me. You think I don't know what you've been doing?" Marina held her ground. "I've been doing my job. Something you never tried to understand." His face flushed with anger. "You're making a mistake siding with him. This company built you. My father gave you. Your father didn't fire me," she said firmly. "You did. And now you're angry because the one person you can't control walked out with his dignity." Elias saw something shift in Adrian's expression, hurt mixed with resentment. It wasn't just business. Adrian felt threatened, overshadowed, maybe even betrayed. "You're both pathetic," Adrian muttered, stepping back. "You think you can build something without us? You think clients will follow an unemployed nobody?" His voice rose as he sneered at Elias. "You're nothing. You've always been nothing." Marina's breath caught, and her voice wavered with anger. "If he's nothing, then why are you here? Why are you terrified? Why did you rush across the city in the middle of a storm just to stop him?" Adrian froze. Her words hit the truth he was avoiding. For a moment, he said nothing. His eyes flickered between Elias and Marina, reading the warmth between them, the quiet loyalty, the unspoken connection. Something inside him cracked: jealousy, insecurity, fear. He turned quickly and stormed out. Letting the cafe door slam so hard the windows rattled, the cafe slowly returned to normal. But Elias and Marina stayed frozen in the moment, breathing deeply, trying to steady themselves. Marina finally sat down again, trembling slightly. Elias sank into his seat across from her. Her voice was quiet. "I'm sorry you had to deal with him like that. You didn't cause this," Elias said softly. "I made it worse," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "No, Adrian made it worse. He always does." For the first time that night, Marina smiled faintly, but her eyes still held worry. "He's going to make trouble for us. Let him," Elias said. "I'm tired of being afraid." Marina looked at him with something warm, something that softened her features. "I don't want you to face this alone." "You're here," Elias said with a small smile. "That's enough." She looked down, cheeks warming as if his words touched a quiet, hidden place in her heart. They talked for another hour. Not about Adrian. Not about fear. But about plans, real ones. "What if we built something of our own?" Marina asked, leaning forward, eyes bright with possibility. Elias inhaled slowly, overwhelmed by the idea. A firm. Just us. Not just us. She began listing names, clients, small companies, partnerships, voices full of trust. They follow people, not buildings. They follow care, not power. They follow honesty. That's why they trust you. Elias stared at the table for a moment. His stomach tightened with fear and excitement. Everything felt too sudden, too big. But Marina's voice made it sound possible. She put her hand on his again, soft but full of intention. You don't need that company to matter. You never did. His heart thudded louder. He didn't pull his hand away. Okay, he finally said, let's do it. Marina's smile broke through like sunlight. The next day started with chaos. Elias woke with adrenaline still bursting through him. He had barely slept. He brewed coffee, grabbed a notebook, and began writing ideas, firm names, services, contacts. His phone buzzed nonstop. He checked the first message. Client 1. Heard. You're no longer with Hale & Co. We want to switch to wherever you're going. Elias blinked. Then another message. Client 2, please. Tell us how to follow you. And 5 more. 10 more. By noon, he had 20 messages. By evening, 20-7. By night, 32. Each one was a shock. Each one filled him with disbelief and something like pride. They trusted him even without a company behind him at 6. He met Marina again, this time not in a cafe but at a small co-working space she rented for a month. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't polished. But it had large windows, white desks, clean walls, and a sense of new beginnings. Marina stood by the window, holding a tablet with client responses glowing on the screen. They're signing, she whispered with awe. Elias, they're really signing. He stepped closer and read the list. His eyes widened as he saw familiar names, big names, important names, people who normally never took risks. But they were taking this one. For him. Marina turned to face him. I told you. They trust you. Elias felt a lump form in his throat. It doesn't feel real. She said gently. This is your work. Your reputation. Your compassion. She touched his arm softly. You earned all of this. For a moment, they just stood there, close enough to feel each other's breath. Then the office door swung open. It wasn't Adrian. It was Laura, a project manager from Hale & Co., a talented woman who had often complained privately about Adrian's impulsive decisions. She looked nervous, glancing over her shoulder before entering. Elias, she said quickly, I'm leaving the company. I want to work with you. He blinked in surprise. What? Why? Because Adrian is destroying everything, she said. And because she hesitated, gathering courage. Because you're the person we should have been following all along. Elias exchanged a look with Marina. She gave a small, proud nod. Welcome, Elias said. The word felt strange on his tongue, like accepting a new chapter he never saw coming. Within the next 2 hours, 3 more former co-workers arrived. Each one left Hale & Co., quietly determined to start fresh by Elias's side. Papers piled on the table. Phones rang nonstop. People talked over each other, scrambling to set up accounts, databases, emails. It was messy, loud, unplanned, but it felt alive. Marina stayed close to Elias, updating him, reading numbers, guiding decisions, smoothing problems before they grew. Every time he felt overwhelmed, she touched his arm or whispered reassurance. Her presence kept him steady. By midnight, the tiny co-working space looked like a battlefield of coffee cups, open laptops, scattered folders, and new beginnings. Elias leaned back in a chair, rubbing his forehead. Marina walked over with 2 coffees. Drink, she ordered softly. He took one. Their fingers brushed. Neither of them pulled away. How are you feeling? She asked. Tired, he admitted. But for the first time, good, she smiled. You should. Look at all this. You built something in 12 hours that Adrian never could in 6 months. He shook his head. We built it. Marina's eyes softened. Yes, we. Her voice lingered on the word. warm and full of promise. Suddenly, Laura burst back into the room, breathless. "Elias, you need to see this." She handed him her tablet. A message was on the screen. "Client number 41, leaving Hale & Co., effective tomorrow. Please tell us how to transfer our files to your new firm." Leah stared at the screen. Then he laughed a short, stunned, relieved laugh. He covered his mouth with one hand, eyes burning with emotion. Marina gently took the tablet, reading the message. When she looked at Elias again, her eyes sparkled with something tender. "All 41, she whispered. "Every single one." Elias couldn't speak. His throat tightened. Years of being overlooked, used, pushed around, years of working like a machine, of never being appreciated, were suddenly replaced by loyalty, trust, and belief. Not from a company, not from a CEO, but from people who truly saw him. Marina stepped closer. "You did it," she whispered. "You proved him wrong." He didn't think. He simply reached for her hand. And she didn't hesitate. She laced her fingers with his, holding on like she wanted him to feel every ounce of support she offered. "You're not alone," she whispered. "Not anymore." Their foreheads almost touched. Their breaths mingled. The room around them blurred into silence just as the moment deepened. The office phone rang loudly. Elias and Marina froze. Laura answered, her expression dropping. "It's Adrian," she said quietly. "He knows everything." Elias and Marina exchanged a look. Nathan woke before sunrise the next morning, long before his alarm, long before the streets outside had shaken awake. His small rented apartment felt too quiet, too still, like the air itself held its breath. He lay there for a moment, listening to the soft hum of the city far below, feeling a strange mixture of fear and hope beating inside his chest. Today was the day everything would change. Today, 41 clients would decide if they truly trusted him more, if he had only dreamed too big. He sat up, rubbed his face, and tried to steady himself. Memories of the previous night rushed back. Ava sitting across from him in the dim cafe, her eyes soft and brave, her hand resting on top of his with a confidence he didn't know he deserved. Her whisper telling him he wasn't alone anymore. Those moments felt unreal, like something he had imagined during a lonely night. But they were real. She had chosen to stand with him when the world was falling apart. He showered quickly, pulled on his shirt, and left without eating. His stomach was too tight for food. The elevator took him down from the old building, its slow rattling matching the beat of his nerves. When he stepped out into the cold morning air, the city felt full of possibility and danger. Everything could go right today, or everything could collapse. He walked fast, pushing through the early commuters, his mind racing ahead of him. By the time he reached the new office, just 2 rooms and a hallway, with peeling paint, Ava was already there. She sat at a borrowed desk, surrounded by boxes of files, her hair tied back, her eyes tired but glowing. When she saw him, she smiled in that gentle way that always made him feel solid again. "You came early," she said, standing. He nodded. "Couldn't sleep?" "Me neither." They didn't need to say more. The clocks on the walls ticked quietly, marking the minutes before their new beginning. Ava handed him a list of the clients he would be meeting throughout the day. 41 names written in neat rows each, one representing trust, history, responsibility, and the future of their firm. Nathan held the paper like it was something delicate. "I already set up the video calls," Ava said. "And the conference room is ready. Not perfect, but ready." Nathan looked toward the open doorway. The conference room was the room next to theirs, still smelling faintly of old paint, with a table that wobbled and mismatched chairs. But it was theirs. It was a space built not on money, but on desperation, courage, and a belief that they could make something better. Ava placed her hand on Nathan's arm, her touch soft but grounding. "You don't have to impress them with the office," she whispered. "Just remind them who you are." He nodded again, then breathed in deeply. "Let's do this." The first client meeting began just after 8. It was Mr. Lawrence, a longtime partner of the old company who had always valued honesty over fancy presentations. When the call connected, his face appeared on the small screen, sharp eyes, silver hair, a no-sense expression. "Nathan," he said. "Big day for you." "Yes, sir." "Let's not waste time. I want to know exactly what you're offering and why you think you can handle my accounts on your own." Nathan spoke clearly, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. He explained his vision, his plans, the systems they would use, the improvements he wanted to introduce. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't hide the truth about their small beginnings. He simply showed passion, sincerity, and a determination that could not be shaken. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Lawrence leaned back and crossed his arms. "I knew you were good," he said, "but I didn't realize you were brave too." He paused. "Send me the documents. I'm joining you." When the call ended, Nathan didn't speak for a moment. He simply sat there, feeling something warm bloom in his chest. Ava let out a soft breath of relief. "One down," she said, "and 40 to go." Hours passed quickly, each meeting turning his nerves into something stronger. By noon, 15 clients had said yes. By 2:22, some hesitated, some questioned him deeply, some admitted they were tired of Adrian's leadership and wanted stability again. All they needed was proof that Nathan could offer something better, something trustworthy, something human. Ava stayed by his side through every meeting. She organized documents, sent contracts, took notes, and reassured nervous clients. Every so often, their eyes met, exchanging silent messages. "We can do this. Don't give up. I'm here." As the day grew longer, their shared determination made the small office feel warmer, less lonely. Around 3 o'clock, the office phone buzzed. Ava answered, but her expression changed quickly. Her brows drew together, her lips pressed tight, and she glanced at Nathan with a warning. "It's Adrian," she whispered. Nathan's shoulders stiffened. "Put him through," he said quietly. The speaker clicked, and Adrian's voice filled the room like poison. "So this is what you're doing," he snarled. "Hiding in a cheap office, stealing my father's clients." "I didn't steal anyone," Nathan replied calmly. "They reached out to me." "No," Adrian snapped. "They're confused. They'll regret this move. And when they do, I'll be right here to take them back. Your little dream won't last a week." Ava stepped closer to the phone. "Adrian, enough. You pushed him out. He didn't betray you." "Oh, of course you're there," Adrian said bitterly. "I should have known." Helping him build a fantasy. Following him like he's worth anything. Nathan clenched his jaw, anger tightening his voice. "We're building something real." "No," Adrian said coldly. "You're building a grave for your career. And when everything collapses, I'll make sure no one hires you again." The line went dead. Ava closed her eyes for a moment, exhaling shakily. Nathan reached for her hand without thinking. She held on to him, squeezing gently. "He's scared," she whispered. "He's losing control." "And he won't stop," Nathan replied. But he didn't feel defeated. Not this time. The rage in Adrian's voice proved something important. Athen was succeeding by evening. 35 clients had officially joined. Nathan was exhausted, his voice strained, his eyes burning, but he pushed through. Ava stayed close, offering him tea, a hand on his shoulder, small smiles when he felt overwhelmed. Her presence was the anchor he didn't know he needed. The last meeting of the night was with Ms. Hartley, one of the biggest accounts they hoped to secure. She was sharp, demanding, and known for walking away the moment she sensed weakness. When the call began, she folded her arms and studied Nathan's face carefully. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, "when the company you worked for doesn't?" Nathan didn't try to defend the company. He didn't lie about how he was fired. He didn't attack Adrian either. Instead, he told her the truth, clear, humble, and without unnecessary emotion. He spoke about values, about relationships built on transparency, about his belief that clients deserved consistency, not chaos. He spoke about Ava, too, about the teamwork that had always made their results strong. Ms. Hartley watched him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "You've always been honest," she said, "and I value that more than office chairs or titles." I'm joining you. When the call ended, Nathan felt his eyes sting. Ava let out a breath that wasn't just relief, it was victory 6. She whispered, and 5 more responded by email. Nathan added after checking his inbox. That makes Ava grabbed his wrist, her eyes wide with emotion. 41. Silence fell over the room. Not tired, silence. Not shocked silence, but the kind that wrapped around both of them with warmth, pride, and a deep sense of beginning. Ava stepped closer, her breath soft and uneven. You did it, she whispered. You really did it. Nathan shook his head, his voice gentle. No, we did it. Her eyes filled not with tears, but with something deeper respect, admiration, and something warm she no longer hid. She reached up and touched his cheek, her fingertips trembling. You changed everything today, she whispered. He covered her hand with his. The room felt small, safe, full of quiet magic. The night outside glowed through the windows, and the city hummed softly, like it was celebrating with them. Ava, he said softly, there's something else I want to build. She stepped closer, her voice barely a breath. Tell me, a life with you. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly, like she wanted to see him clearly, fully, honestly. She placed her forehead against his. I've wanted that for so long, she whispered. There were no dramatic kisses. No sudden gestures, just to people standing in a tiny office, surrounded by files and hope, holding each other gently while their new future settled into place. A firm born from courage. A love born from chaos. A life built not from comfort, but from choosing each other. Nathan pulled her close, their hands intertwined, their hearts steady. What they had now wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. It wasn't safe, but it was real, and it was theirs. Elias Morgan woke before sunrise, just like every day for the past 7 years. He dressed the same way he always did, dark gray suit, light blue shirt, silver tie, then drank the same black coffee he hardly tasted anymore. The morning felt normal, but he sensed something uneasy in the air, like a quiet warning he couldn't see. He ignored it, grabbed his folder, and left for Hale & Co., the place where he had poured nearly a decade of his life. The subway was crowded, but Elias barely noticed. His mind was already moving through tasks, reminding himself of everything he needed to solve today. 3 reports to finish, 1 client ready to explode, another waiting for reassurance, and the new intern who still didn't know how to send a proper email. Elias was tired, but he kept going. He always kept going. If he didn't, the whole department would fall apart. When he entered the glass lobby of the building, the receptionist gave him a strange, tight smile. Not friendly, not rude, just nervous. Elias nodded and stepped into the elevator. The ride to the 32nd floor felt longer than usual. His reflection in the mirrored wall looked tired, older than 34. Like someone worn down by trying to hold too many things together for too many years. The doors opened with a soft chime. The office was unusually quiet. People glanced at him, but quickly looked away. A few whispered to each other, and he felt the weight of every stare. Something was wrong, and the silence made it worse. He walked toward his desk, but before he reached it, someone blocked his path. Adrian Hale, the CEO's only son. The heir to everything. The man who had joined the company 6 months ago and already acted like he owned the air everyone breathed. Adrian stood with one hand in his pocket and an expression that looked too pleased, like he had been waiting for this moment. Elias, Adrian said, voice smooth but sharp. My office? Now. Elias's stomach tightened. He followed him through the glass hallway, passing coworkers pretending not to watch. His heart beat faster with each step. Adrian opened the door to his large corner office and waited for Elias to enter before closing it gently. Like he wanted the sound of the click to sting. Adrian walked behind the desk, sat down, and leaned back as if he were sitting on a throne. Elias stood across from him, trying to stay calm. "What's this about?" Elias asked. Adrian rested his elbows on the armrests and tapped his fingers together. "I'll make it simple. You've become overrated." Elias blinked, stunned. "What?" "You heard me," Adrian said, shrugging lightly. "My father believed you were the foundation of this place. But I don't see it. I see someone who tries too hard to control everything. Someone who gets too close to the clients. Someone who thinks he's untouchable." Elias felt heat rise in his chest. "If this is about the Blake account, I already fixed." "This isn't about one account," Adrian cut in. "It's about all of them. You walk around like you're the one holding this company up. You're not." Elias opened his mouth, but Adrian raised a hand. "This conversation is a formality," Adrian said. "I'm letting you go." The words slammed into Elias like a punch. "You're firing me?" "Effective immediately," Adrian said, smiling like he enjoyed the taste of the words. "HR will handle the paperwork." 7 years vanished in one sentence. All the late nights, the saved accounts, the loyal clients gone. Adrian didn't offer thanks, didn't offer explanation, didn't even pretend this was professional. The decision was personal, and Elias knew it. He swallowed hard. "What reason are you giving HR? That doesn't concern you." Elias felt something inside him break. But instead of fighting, instead of pleading, he simply nodded. He wasn't going to give Adrian the satisfaction of seeing him fall apart. He left the office feeling hundreds of eyes on him. He went to his desk, grabbed a box, and placed a few belongings inside his notebook. A framed photo with coworkers who wouldn't even meet his eyes now, and a pen he liked. People whispered behind him, some in sympathy, some in fear, some in curiosity. He didn't blame them. Adrian had the power to ruin anyone's career with one impulse. Most people were too scared to even acknowledge Elias as he walked past. He stepped into the elevator one last time. The doors closed and the silence hit him. His heart felt heavy. He tried to swallow the lump in his throat, but it didn't go away. He had worked harder than anyone, given more than anyone, and yet he was leaving like a criminal sneaking out the back door. When he reached the lobby, he forced himself to breathe normally. Outside, rain drizzled over the city, soft but cold. It soaked into his hair and suit, making him shiver. He didn't bother opening his umbrella. Somehow, the rain felt honest. More honest than anything that had happened upstairs. He moved toward the street, unsure what to do next. He had no plan, no backup, no idea how to rebuild from this. The city felt too big, too fast, too uncaring. He pulled out his phone, thinking of calling someone, maybe his brother. Maybe a friend, but he couldn't find the strength to explain what had happened. Then his phone buzzed in his hand. He looked at the screen and froze. Marina Vale, his most important client. The fiercest one. The one who trusted him more than anyone else did. The one he admired and respected more than he ever admitted. The one whose voice he remembered even long after meetings ended. He hesitated, but finally answered Elias. Marina's voice was soft, concerned, almost trembling. "Is everything okay?" "Adrian just called me." His chest tightened. "What did he say?" "He told me you were gone," she said. He wouldn't explain. He sounded proud of it. Elias closed his eyes. "He fired me." There was silence on her end, deep, heavy silence that made Elias picture her face. He could imagine her eyes widening, her brows pulling together, her lips parting in shock. She wasn't the type to hide her emotions, especially when she cared. "He fired you," Marina whispered. "He fired you." Yes. Another silence followed, but this one felt different, heavier, charged, almost painful. "Elias," she said quietly, "where are you?" "Outside the building. Are you alone?" "Yes." He heard her inhale slowly, as if she were trying to calm down. "Listen to me. I want you to meet me tonight. River Street Caf, 7. Marina, please." she said, her voice breaking just a little. I need to see you. He didn't understand why she sounded emotional, but hearing her voice shake made something inside him soften. He hadn't heard anyone sound worried for him in a long time, okay? He said quietly. 7. They hung up and Elias looked up at the sky. The rain continued falling, cool and steady. For a moment, he simply stood there, letting it wash over him. He felt tired but strangely lighter. Losing his job should have crushed him completely. Yet hearing Marina's voice had given him something unexpected - hope. He walked slowly through the streets, trying to make sense of everything. As he passed familiar buildings and crowded intersections, memories of his years at Hale & Co. hit him like waves early mornings. Endless calls, saving account after account. Watching coworkers quit or get fired, feeling unseen by the CEO while being quietly praised by clients. He had carried so much on his shoulders, and for what? To be dismissed by a spoiled, insecure man who couldn't handle being overshadowed. By the time he reached his small apartment, his emotions had twisted into something between exhaustion and anger. He took off his wet clothes, changed, and tried to rest. But his mind wouldn't stop replaying Adrian's voice. Overrated? Too close with the clients, you're nothing without us. Cleus clenched his jaw. The words burned in his memory. He knew Adrian had never liked him. Elias had built strong relationships with clients, while Adrian struggled to maintain even one without help. Adrian had tried to assert control, but most clients came to meetings asking for Elias instead. Maybe that was the real reason he was fired. When the clock approached 7, Elias left his apartment and headed toward River Street. The city lights reflected on the wet pavement, creating soft glimmers of gold, red, and blue. The air smelled of rain and fresh asphalt. He walked faster, feeling a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. The cafe stood at the corner, warm light spilling through its windows. It looked peaceful, almost too peaceful for the heaviness in his chest. He took a breath and walked in. The bell above the door chimed softly. He chose a small table in the corner. His fingers tapped the cup in front of him, though he didn't drink. His heart thudded louder with each passing minute. Then the door chimed again. Marina stepped inside. She shook rain from her hair, scanned the room, and when her eyes found him, something gentle crossed her face. Her steps were quick but graceful, and when she sat down across from him, he saw emotions swirling behind her usual confidence. Elias, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Hi. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy, full of concern and words not yet said. I'm so sorry, Marina said finally. You didn't deserve what happened today. Elias looked down. It's fine. No, she said firmly, leaning forward. It's not fine. I've worked with you for 4 years. I know how good you are. You kept my company from collapsing last year. You handled every crisis with calm. You saved deals no one else could save. And Adrian fires you because, what? He's insecure. Elias blinked. Her voice shook with anger and something else he couldn't name. She took a slow breath. Elias, what are you going to do now? I don't know, he said honestly. Everything feels blank. Marina stared at him like she was seeing every heavy hour he had lived through. Her expression softened and she reached out slightly. Not